We've worked our whole lives, saved and invested just to achieve financial freedom, and been led to believe that instead of painting the perfect financial picture, everyone's plan is the same. But the truth is, no one is like you, and you deserve a financial strategy just as unique as you are. How do you navigate the complexities and volatility of a financial environment that just never sits still? And how do you find the guidance you need? Who do you trust with the wisdom to paint your financial masterpiece? You've arrived. This is the Wealth Council. Thanks so much for joining us on the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson with independent advisors from around the country, starting with Tom Mosley out of California, Prashant Sabapathy coming from us, the nation's capital in Baltimore, Maryland, and Brian Carunta coming from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Gentlemen, I want to talk about retirement and maybe reminisce about retirement, our parents' retirement, our grandparents' retirement. The perception was it was so much easier back in the day to retire. Brian, does perception meet reality right now?
It does. The reality is it was. If you go back 40 years ago, 50 years ago, it was really easy to retire because you probably worked for an employer for 30 plus years. When you retired, you got a pension, and you probably saved some additional money. And that additional money you saved, you probably took down to the bank, and the bank at that time was probably paying you 10, 15% on a bank CD. And so if you saved an extra $100,000, maybe you're getting $15,000 a year in additional income. So you retire, you got a Social Security check, you got a pension check, and you got interest income from the money that's safely at the bank. Today, you've got people that are retiring without pensions. As a matter of fact, 85% of the people retiring today retiring without pensions. The pension got dissolved right around 1978. There was a pension, or Congress,
the Revenue Act.
The Revenue Act. So what's happened? We replaced the pension with the 401k. I call this the yo-yo retirement plan. You're on your own. You need to figure out how you're going to take this 401k and get income for the rest of your life. And a lot of people just don't know how to do this.
Exactly. I mean, I can remember I was real little. They put a little bow tie on me with a little suit. And I went down to Savannah, Georgia, and I went to my grandfather's retirement party, and he had the pension, and they gave him a gold watch. And now, when you turn 50, they don't do any of that anymore. When you turn 50, though, they give you an invisible T-shirt with a bullseye on the back so that every time they want to do a big layoff, man, who's the target? It's people who are older. So the rules have really changed the environment in such a comfortable environment. I remember my grandparents didn't have tons of money, but they had that steady stream of income coming in, and it's just not there. And instead of the company providing that, now it's moved over to the 401ks where you provide it for yourself. Instead of a defined benefit, it's a defined contribution. And guess who's making most of the contribution?
Yeah, right.
You are. And it's really created what I call the wealth effect, right? The wealth effect is this idea that people are having to save more and more of their own money. I'll tell you what, in the last 5 or 6 years, we've had more millionaires and multimillionaires come into our office saying, how do we make use of this money to make sure that we have that paycheck and to make sure that we don't run out of money? And so like it's really the biggest problem that you have to solve in retirement is where is that income going to ultimately come from? And is it going to be secure? Is it going to be there for you every single month for the rest of your life?
All right, let's solve the problem. Where do you go then?
Well, look, I mean, you know, Wall Street tells you that you could use this thing called the 4% rule, where you have your money invested in a diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and you can withdraw 4% a year. What they don't tell you is there's this risk called sequence risk that shows up. So if the market's not performing well when you're taking money out, now the problem is, as you're taking money out and the market's going down, you are compounding these losses, locking in the losses, and this is where people are running out of money in retirement.
Because you can't catch up.
Because you can't catch up. So if market's going down, you pull money out, that balance is going down faster and faster. And what Wall Street is not teaching people how to do is how to remove that risk. And in my opinion, there's one really good way to remove that risk, and that's the use of an income annuity. I'll give you a perfect example. I had some clients retire, And they had about $1 million in their 401k. We took $500,000 of that million. We put it into an income annuity that they can buy out in the market on their own with a big, strong, safe company. And that $500,000 in the next 4 years will generate over $51,000 of guaranteed income for them. Guaranteed for his life if he dies, guaranteed for his spouse's life. And if she dies, any money in the account passes on to the kids. So this is a way people can protect their income for the rest of their life, and most people do not know how to use this strategy.
Well, most people have bought into the common vernacular out there that annuities are bad, that annuities aren't really that effective. But I ask people sometimes when they say that, do you like your Social Security? Oh, I love my Social Security. Why? Because it's going to be there for as long as I live. Every single month I'm going to get a payment. It's going to be indexed for inflation. Do you like your pension if you still have a pension? Because a few people do. I love my pension. It's going to be there every single month. Well, the annuity is the only other financial vehicle that will give you a guaranteed flow of income for the rest of your life. And this is what the annuity never gets credit for. Even after you run out of your money, it's an insurance backed by an insurance company to make sure that you never run out of income the rest of your life, even after you're out of money.
That's exactly right. And Brian, you said something earlier, which I think used to be the biggest drawback of annuities, is that you feel like you're giving up a big lump sum of your money.
Yep.
You're getting an income, and when you pass away, all that money is gone. Right. Well, in this day and age, these annuities, you can actually leave a legacy with that annuity, meaning all that money you put into it, even after you've taken that income out, if you outlive it, it pays you forever.
Right.
But if you don't outlive it, you can actually leave that nest egg as a legacy. I think a lot of people don't know that today. So it's really an education thing that we have to bridge that gap and really inform people on what their options are.
We look at it like this. You insure your car. You insure your home. You insure your health. Why in the world would you not insure the most important thing you're going to need in life, and that's your monthly income? And that's what the annuity does. It's insurance for your income. I don't know how anybody could go into retirement, at least not myself, I couldn't do this, and just have a plan built around uncertainty. And that's what Wall Street plans are about. Anything that's in the stock market, you have no idea when that account balance is going to run out. When you take time to understand the annuity and how it works, what you're doing is providing yourself with security and peace of mind because you've insured that piece of your retirement.
And it's stress relief. When you know exactly where your income is coming from and that it's always going to be able to cover your monthly needs, it gives you security. I've never had a client come to me and say, hey, Prashant, how dare you get me so much income that I can't live? That's never happened to me. Okay? I don't think it's happened to you guys.
I have had clients come to me and they've said, we're afraid to go to Europe. We're afraid to do our bucket list. We're afraid to do this because we're not sure we're going to have income when we're in our 80s and 90s. That's what an annuity will do for you. It will guarantee you the income.
That's what a plan does for you. Receive this Wealth Counsel written financial plan by calling the number on your screen or scanning the QR code right now. The Wealth Counsel continues after this.
There is a national average when it comes to inflation. Find out why that average is deceptive when we return.
Are you preparing to make your retirement funds work for you while not taking too much risk? While there is no substitute for sitting down with an independent financial advisor, why don't you learn the strategies of investing as well? Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Counsel right now to learn about investment strategies that align with your goals. Call for your free retirement investing guide from the Wealth Counsel right now. 844-463-3466. That's 844-463-3466.
Welcome back to the Wealth Counsel. I'm Brad Johansson with Brian Caranta out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Chance Robinson out of Orlando, Florida. Gentlemen, let's talk inflation, because the word on the street is that inflation is the same for everyone. All right, is everyone me? Let me go back to just last year, because I had to, believe it or not, take 2 vacations.
Yeah.
I had to buy a car.
Right.
I have 4 kids.
First world problem.
Had to buy a car.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem like I was on the average when I'm dealing with inflation on that. Is that average?
Well, no, because you may be purchasing more than the other person, right? I mean, everybody's inflation number is going to be different, and here's why. First off, how active are you in your lifestyle? How many children do you have? How much stuff do you need to buy, right? Where you had to take 2 vacations and buy a vehicle, somebody else might not have to do any of that stuff. So they didn't have to spend as much money as you did. Also, inflation numbers, when you look at an average, most of the time what's quoted is a 100-year average. The real question is, what's the inflation number going to look like when you retire? Everybody knows that it gets more expensive to live.
Without question.
Right? The question is, how do you solve that problem? And my concern for most people is that they're not being taught, in my opinion, the right way to solve these problems. So for example, Wall Street's method is have money invested in the stock market and a diversified portfolio, right?
Okay.
So people typically, when they retire, they roll that money over to an IRA to diversify, and they're going to withdraw 4% a year.
That would be the safe plan.
Yeah, that would be the safe plan. So they're going to withdraw 4% a year. Well, what happens when the market's not cooperating? So now you're pulling money out, the market's going down, so now you're compounding those losses. Oh, and by the way, the cost of living has gone up at the same time.
Yeah.
So now you got to pull even more money out. Do you know the impact that that's going to have on the balance? And the biggest risk for a retiree is running out of money before they die.
Well, the big problem starts to become at that point. People think that, oh, what's my magic number?
Yeah.
What do I need to retire? What you've got to figure out is, what does it cost you to be you?
Yes.
To maintain your lifestyle, to do exactly what it is that you do right now, and I'm going to stop working. What does it cost me to be me? That's going to determine how inflation really impacts us. So how do I solve that problem once I have that? Just like we've talked about, we've had many of conversations. If I say, okay, I need $6,000 a month to live.
Okay.
I need to do something that's going to guarantee that no matter what happens in the market.
Absolutely.
The only thing that can guarantee in the investment world is an income indexed annuity or something.
Oh my
like
God,
that.
I can't believe this guy just said
and
annuity.
I know
Holy
that.
smokes.
You bring this up, and it
Okay.
scares people when you start
Right.
talking about annuities.
Yeah, well, because marketing has scared them, right? What people don't know is the real truth about annuities. There's lots of different types of annuities out there. They're not all created equal. The income annuity that he's referring to does something extremely important for retiree. It guarantees and protects the money even if the balance of the account goes to zero. Yes, even if the account goes to zero. An income annuity is insurance. Look, you buy car insurance, you buy homeowners insurance, you buy health insurance, you buy life insurance. You know what people don't buy? Income insurance. And that's what they need to get through the world we live in today. Essentially, they create.
Is this trying to get out of the brain of saying that when I go into retirement, isn't my savings my income plan? And that's what I've been led to believe?
It can't really operate that way, because what happens, I mean, we just seen it last year. If I had, a year's worth of savings that was saved up, and then inflation hits and everything doubles. I mean, these inflation numbers they're talking about that we see on TV, 6, 7, 8%. Those aren't the real inflation numbers when I pull up to the gas pump or when I check out at the grocery store. It's not only 6% higher than it was last year or the year before. It's costing me, gas went from $2 to $4. That's not a 6% increase. So I have to start looking at things. How am I going to guarantee my lifestyle to make sure that it's going to happen? Yeah. And the big problem that we start to see why, those reactions come in about annuities or what are those things, because they try to lump them all together like they're all the same. And that's the biggest problem that I see with people when they're understanding these, that there are different types of annuities that accomplish different things. It's not just saying, oh, annuities are good or annuities bad. No, you got to understand what the different types are and which one is the right one for me.
Yeah, most people want peace of mind and security.
Heck yeah.
Right. So if you're trying to build a plan and you have no idea how that plan is going to work, what rate of return you're going to get, think about it. That's how most people are retiring. They retire, they roll over their 401k. They have no idea what rate of return they're going to get. They have no idea if it's going to keep pace with inflation.
That's not a plan, that's a portfolio.
Yeah. And you know what? They say, Wall Street tells us the reason why you need to invest in the market is because you got to keep pace with inflation. Really? What happens when your portfolio goes down 30%?
We've seen it.
Okay? I mean, how are you keeping pace with inflation when your portfolio just went down 30%?
Last year.
Yeah, exactly. So this is it's advice that people need to reconsider, and there's new ways to do it. And they have to understand a lot of the ways that we're talking about. Think about the flip phone. That's what people are using a lot of times. They're using a flip phone, maybe even a corded phone, compared to the fact that they could use a smartphone now today, and that's an income annuity.
What you're saying is you have to have a plan. The question is, do you have a plan? We have one for you. Call the number on your screen right now or scan the QR code for the Wealth Council's written financial plan. Don't wait any longer. Do it now. And the Wealth Council continues after this.
Up next, taxes can erode your bottom line in retirement. Here's Stuart Willis talk about tax planning and what you may be missing.
For your free Social Security maximization guide from the Wealth Council, call 844-463-3466. Taking part in getting the most from your Social Security with this guide costs you nothing. Not taking part can cost you and your spouse a lot. Discover strategies that fit your unique situation and help you make the most of every dollar. Call for your free Social Security maximization guide from the Wealth Council, 844-463-3466, or scan the QR code below from your smartphone camera.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson with Stuart Willis. As we're talking about tax planning, most of us look at it as a rear view mirror problem. We had taxes last year. We got to deal with this. We got to move fast. You're talking about taxes kind of going through the windshield. Explain why there's a difference.
Yeah, no, it's a great analogy. Look, we operate a tax office out of Arizona and Las Vegas and Denver. And what we see all the time is people are used to doing what they call tax planning during tax season. And that's the worst time to do any sort of tax planning because, look, these CPAs, enrolled agents, they're working 10, 15-hour days just trying to get the taxes done.
They just want to be done with it.
Yeah, just get it done, right? They're zombies. They're working their tails off, God bless them. But you know what? It's the wrong time to do tax planning because what they're doing there is they may say, hey, you know what? We can save you $2,000 if you put $7,000 away into your IRA this year. That's their version of tax planning. Well, that's tax preparation, not tax planning. To us, the best tax preparation is accomplished towards the end of the year because what that does is it gives you a vision of what's already happened during that year. We take advantage of it. We can harvest gains, harvest losses.
Harvest losses. Take me through harvest losses.
Yeah, so obviously over the last couple of years, the markets have been bad, right? And for some people, really bad. And what we're seeing is some opportunities to capture those losses, use them as future deductions, maybe this year, maybe in the future for years to come. But you want to take advantage of them if it makes sense. But tax planning really is a forward-looking venture here. What we do is we first have to make our clients realize that we are in the most efficient tax window in history right now. And that window is closing. Under current law, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act is set to sunset at the end of 2025.
Okay.
And so what we do is we present options. We cash flow their retirement. And what we look at is the idea that it may make sense to pay taxes now at these lower tax rates compared to the future when we believe the Tax Cut and Jobs Act is going to go away.
And it's going to continue to hike the rates because nobody believes that at the end of 2025 the taxes are going to go down, do they?
Listen, there's very few people. I mean, it's a common question from clients, like, how do we know that they're not going to extend it? Well, understand when the Trump tax cuts or the Tax Cut and Jobs Act was signed into law, it was during one of the greatest economies the world's ever seen. We're not there anymore. That was before COVID, all of the spending that ensued there. Social Security's having tons of trouble. And look, there is no appetite right now for tax reduction or tax cuts. So we really need to make sure what we know for a fact is we have 3 years left.
What you're saying is we know the rules now. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of 25.
And just remember, it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. And so sometimes when we talk about paying the taxes now, we're talking about things, when I talk about Roth conversion, that's when you take your IRA, your 401k, your thrift savings plan, you pay the taxes now, so that you don't have to pay it in the future. And here's the key. It's not just the tax you'll have to pay on those investments you pull out in the future. It's also when you start taking money out of IRAs and 401ks, those income sources start making Social Security taxable, which you want to try to avoid if at all possible.
Stuart Willis, thank you. How well are you prepared for your taxes? The Wealth Council continues after this.
Next, we take a modern retirement readiness quiz. How will you score? Find out when we return.
Think of how much you've saved in your 401k, 403b, or TSP retirement accounts, okay? You have that number? Great. Now, subtract 20 to 30% from that number for taxes. That's how much you actually have saved. Call the Wealth Council at 844-463-3466 right now for your free retirement tax guide. Your 2024 tax guide is free for the viewers of the Wealth Council, so call now, 844-463-3466, or scan the QR code below from your smartphone camera.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson with Prashant Sabapathy out of the nation's capital, Baltimore, Maryland, and out of Orlando, Florida, Chance Robinson. Gentlemen, I want to play a little game here, although it's not really a fun game if you don't answer well. We're going to play the red light challenge. This is to kind of determine whether or not you are ready and your readiness ability to retire with a few of the questions. I want to see, guys, of the people that are coming into your office, the people that you're talking to, whether or not you're getting red light, yellow light, green light on any of these. Can we play?
Yeah,
Prashant? All right.
Of course.
Do you think you're going to be able to retire on time? Should be a simple question. How many people come in with a red light on that one, Prashant?
So I would say this one, for the majority of people coming into our office in DC, Baltimore, it tends to be like a yellow light, okay? So kind of in that maybe zone.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because most of the people we see, they're really good at saving money. So they've accumulated quite a bit for retirement, which gives them some kind of sense of security. But I think what they don't have, that we can't call this a green light, is they don't actually know how to coordinate that money and turn it into a paycheck along with their Social Security benefits, if they're fortunate enough to have a pension benefit. So I'm going to go with the yellow light on this one, which is definitely in that maybe zone.
All right, Chance?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, you know, we're talking about primarily the baby boomer generation, one of the greatest generations to ever live. But they're getting to that point now where they were the savers. They've lived through some tough times and seen it happen, so they were used to saving for that rainy day. But now the day is here that they need to rely on that savings, and they're stopping working. So now what exactly do I do? So they've saved up. I find a lot of people are in a good situation, and I'll congratulate them. Hey, you've done a great job at saving for what it is, but now it's time to switch that mode to preservation. You need to keep what you got. And now how do I get it back to you, paying the absolute least amount of taxes possible? Like, I was in the military. I understand the need for taxes, but I don't want to pay a penny more than I have to.
Of course not. All right, let me go to the next question, which is, have you calculated your income or how much income you would need per month in retirement? What do you hear from folks, Prashant?
I'm going to go red light on this one, Chance. I don't know what it's like where you're at, but for us, that's one of the first questions we ask folks is, when you get to retirement, how much are you going to need coming in after taxes, after inflation, to give you the most fulfilling lifestyle? And I can't tell you how often I'm met with kind of like a blank stare on that one. And so at least in our area, I got to say red light on this one. We got to be more diligent about determining what our income need is actually going to be when we get there.
Seeing the same thing?
Well, the big thing that I really see when it comes to this area is, you know, like I referenced back to this being the baby boomer generation. They get to this point in retirement saying, well, I can live on $1,200 a month. You know, my house is paid for, the car is paid for. I don't need a lot to live in.
That's what they say.
Is that what you want? Is that the kind of retirement that I envision for myself? Like, did you work 20, 30 years of your life and saved up all this hard work to really live on $1,200 a month or on your social? Like, no, that wasn't it. You've got to figure out, what does it cost you to be you, to maintain your lifestyle? And now, how do I accomplish that going into retirement and make that transition smooth?
All right, here's another challenging one. Do you know the most tax-efficient order to access your retirement accounts? Do you get blank stares on this one as well?
Absolutely. So I'm definitely going red light on this one. And that's because we're in a day and age today where something as complicated as which account do you withdraw from first, a lot of that has to do with everything going on surrounding tax policy, surrounding the amount of money that you actually have saved, coordinating that with your income.
Isn't the first answer usually, well, isn't that what my Social Security is for? I don't have to really worry about that, right?
Well, I think a lot of people have that perspective, but it's a domino effect, right? So anytime you take money out from somewhere, it's going to impact some other part of your overall financial plan. And in a day and age of information where you can go to the internet to look so many things up, this is one area where you can't just Google it. You got to work with a pro and you got to get it right. It could cost you thousands of dollars if it's not done correctly.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go red light.
This is red light
because there's so many intricate details, and the biggest thing that we all know, and it's been a hot topic for years, is they don't really teach this in school. You didn't pick this up from school anywhere. They didn't teach you how to draw income out of tax efficient buckets and all of these things. So where do they typically go to get their advice? Is their friends and their neighbors, but
Water
everybody's
cooler,
living, everybody's living a different lifestyle. So I can't go to my neighbor who's, living expenses of $6,000 a month and mine are only $2,000 a month or vice versa and get the same exact advice. It's not going to work out the same way. And the whole reason you work with an advisor in the first place is for somebody that has the experience of planning out retirements and income plans and everything it is that I need to maintain that.
We've got 6 other questions I can't even get to. The question is, how have you answered even the first 3? How confident are you that you won't run out of money in retirement? We've got a way for you to find out. Scan the QR code right now. Take your own red light retirement readiness quiz. If you aren't ready, when would you like to know? Call the number on your screen right now. We'll get it to you. And the Wealth Council continues after this.
What is the difference between an independent financial advisory firm and a financial advisor that represents a big box corporation? A corporate advisor will often use tools and products designed for and by that corporation. So when you as an investor ask them about a strategy that would work for you, they generally would offer you solutions from that corporation. An independent financial advisory firm typically provides financial advice without the same constraints faced by many of the big box firms. Because they aren't required to suggest specific financial products or companies, they often have the flexibility to provide objective and unbiased recommendations tailored to the unique financial goals and circumstances of their clients. So the one question to ask yourself is, are you corporate or are you independent? Call the Wealth Council at 844-463-3466 for your own no-cost tailored plan with an independent financial advisor. That's 844-463-3466 to meet with an independent financial advisor of the Wealth Council.
Now, we know that inflation is not an equal opportunity offender, and you had some question marks on your red light challenge. So it's time to realize this isn't your parents' retirement. It's a masterpiece to paint. So let us help you say yes to retirement your way. Now, if you have a question, you need a second opinion, give us a call for an appointment or your personalized written financial plan. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, I'm Brad Johansson, and this is the Wealth Council.